Hello, friends and family and friends. Welcome to another episode of Grover Takeover. You know I am MT Aunt G. I am the Grover. So, this week I want to start off like I did last week. I kind of like that, the little shout outs that I've been doing. So, I want to shout out this week to Elisa Bentley. You know, that's my cousin, y'all. She has been sharing the videos. She's been watching. She's been supporting. I love that. I also shout out Kaya Murphy. I don't know. Am I just supposed to call you Kaya Murphy now? Or, But either way, right now she might be Kaya Jailbird. She might be a whole lot of names because she's always getting put in Facebook jail. So hopefully she's free from Facebook jail. I know right now she's in Belize, so she may not get a chance to see this episode until she gets back, unless she's checking her social media. But hey, you know how I feel about you. The same about all of my viewers out there. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for even taking the time out every week. You know, you guys may be saying that you're entertained by it, but you could be entertained by so many other things. So the fact that you even take the time to tune in, watch me rant and rave about all the stuff that I talk about, that just makes me feel really good and lets me know that I have support out there, and I'm still going to keep on giving these to you just the way that you want. So we're going to jump right into this week's show. I got a lot to cover just like usual, so let's jump right in there. I'm going to start off with the fact that, hey, I don't know if y'all heard, but Bow Wow wants to be a wrestler. And I'm talking about Bow Wow, the Bow Wow Shad Moss, the rapper. I talked about Bow Wow some weeks back because then we were focused. He was talking about the music for his new album. Then he came out the blue a few weeks ago with this whole he wants to be a WWE wrestler thing. Now, it's out of the blue for us. He says it's been a lifelong dream. Wonderful. Wonderful, Bow Wow. Live your dream. But the problem is that Bow Wow I know I'm only about 5'7", and I have met and been around Bow Wow a lot of times in my life. He can't be any more than 5'4", 5'5". And be clear, he is taking it very seriously because he is in training. He's working hard. He's trying to bulk up, trying to get it all right, get it together. Yeah, that still doesn't mean anything. Never forget one time and this was 1,000 years ago, I was at work, and this is back when I used to be a bartender, and I was bartending, and The Undertaker, the wrestler that is The Undertaker, came into my bar. This man was so tall and so enormous that I'm crazy. I still wouldn't be crazy enough to mess with him. So what are you supposed to do when they put your little 5'5", 6", whatever size you are, because he's small? Now, I know what I do. See, I stab and shoot in those kind of situations. You can't stab and shoot in the WWE. You can't do that. You can't stab and shoot on national TV. So what are you supposed to do in those instances? Neither here nor there. We all know that wrestling is a little bit scripted, a lot bit. They kind of know who's going to win when they go out there, but that does not negate the fact that they go out there and fling and throw themselves around and fall from 10 and 20 feet up in the air and get hit with chairs and tables and all this stuff and have to have surgery and stuff to repair their bodies. It's literally like they play football without pads. And so that part is very, very, very real. Either way, Bow Wow wants to be a wrestler, y'all. He wants y'all to know it. He shouted out to Soulja Boy. We all know that Soulja Boy and Bow Wow are really good friends. Shouted him out on social media, talking about how the wrestlers are scared. The wrestlers are shaking in their boots. Since he started training, the wrestlers can't function, and they're just terrified. They're terrified. They're terrified now. That's what he said. I'm just telling you. I'm quoting what the man said. There's a certain wrestler by the name of T-Bar who is a WWE wrestler. He had a reply for this because Bow Wow said to Soulja Boy that, this rap game is one thing, the wrestling game is this thing, I can do this, I can do that. We understand that. But this is what T-Bar had to say. T-Bar said Does rapping take years off your life and leave you with countless injuries and debilitating pain? Just stick to super soaking hose or whatever you were doing 15 years ago. He doesn't even know the difference. This T-Bar doesn't even know the difference between Bow Wow and Soulja Boy. Shows how serious they're taking it. Now, there have been a numerous number of celebrities who have appeared on wrestling back in the day. I feel like what Bow Wow is doing, all this promotion and hype that's being created around it, that part he's very smart for, because people will watch. Charlemagne the God said it on The Breakfast Club. People will watch just to watch Bow Wow get hurt. If that is in case. Hey, you know how they do on wrestling. They're liable to take the boy, put him up there. He started beating everybody up. Next thing you know, he's the WWE champion. And then they come and bust him in the head with a chair and take the belt. And I mean, it's like literally watching soap operas where they take their shirts off and beat each other up. It is what it is. I was not so interested in that story. I thought you guys would be. So I talked about it. So I'm about to move right along from that because I want to talk about the Golden Globes. The Golden Globe Awards did take place Sunday night. There were a lot of winners and a lot of losers, but that is not what I am wanting to talk about. That's not why I'm doing this story. I am doing this story because the Golden Globes, the Oscars, the Grammy, I could literally run the gamut of list of award shows where everything is decided by white people, what is good for the culture, just the culture in general. And by the culture, I'm not talking about the culture like Migos culture. I'm talking about the culture like us, as the American people. Hollywood Foreign Press Association are the people that sit and vote on the Golden Globes. Now be clear. All over the internet the last couple days, because the Golden Globes happened 3 nights ago. And for the first time in the history of the Golden Globes, the Best Actress and the Best Actor awards were taken home by black actors. Okay, that's wonderful. That's great. Please be clear, Chadwick Boseman won for Best Actor. He did. But, there's neither here nor there. My point of this is that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is a group of 87 people, 87 members, and it has been around for a long time because they're the ones who decide these awards. Every last one of them is white. Have been white since the beginning. Are white still today in 2021. And they got called out. The Hollywood elites called them out and basically saying, oh, that's wonderful because, the whole thing has been going on for years where they are going after the Associated Press and, Press Association and saying how they're not inclusive. They're not putting enough brown people. And now brown, please be clear, brown does not just mean black people. All of us who are not white are brown in their eyes. Be very clear. Even if you're yellow, say you're Japanese, Chinese, Korean, they give you a color too. We all have a color if we're not white. But the representation is not there because they're all Caucasian. Every last one of them, all 87 members. And be clear, some of them will probably be 110, 97, 82. What do they know about current culture? Doesn't mean anything. As long as they're white, they know everything. Yes, okay. Either way, when they got called out, they released a statement. You know what? You're right. You're right. There are no black members. We'll put some on here. So y'all just leave us alone. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Not in NAM meeting. Do you mean to tell me that you sat around there, did you think to yourselves, damn, everybody in here is white, but there's black people in these movies. Yeah. So, oh, that's okay. Well, we're just going to keep being white, a bunch of white people deciding what the whole culture decides. If they wanted these award shows to be fair, I feel like they would find a way, especially in this day and age, where you can include where computers can help you do anything. They would have the people vote and the people decide what they want to do. And then the people can tell you who is the best actor and the best actress. But they know everything. They know every single solitary thing. That we had artists that came out, actors, you know, and some came out and said things like, oh, it's great to see a lot of black people in here. They made bold statements like, oh, it's good to be black in this scenario, in this situation. You know, it causes separation when we as brown people, black people, whatever, Latinos, whatever race, Indian, Middle Eastern, Indian and Middle Eastern, come out and say things like that. Oh, it's great to be black, or it's great to be brown. Because if a white person walked up there and said, well, it's good to see all these white people in here. Well, it's good to see them. Look at all these white people sitting down here. Every last one of y'all would try to burn down the building. Whatever they were in, whatever arena, whatever stage, wherever they were, y'all would try to burn it down. Don't do stuff. Don't say that. Don't do stuff like that. I do understand that they are the oppressors and we are the oppressees. But like those kind of bold outward statements like that are like, you have to consider what you're doing and what you're saying and who you're addressing it to. Yes, it's good to be black in those situations. We know that. You don't have to say it. They're trying to add more people. No, it's not fair. It's not fair that out of 87 members, they're all white. There's no Asian, no nothing. They're just white. We know white people know everything. So sit up there and let them know everything. The black buying power, the power of African Americans and the amount of money that we pour into the economy. One day we are all going to wake up and realize that if we band together and stop that money flow or funnel the money flow into something else, we could literally take over. But the thing about it is that there is a shift change. It's not like white people are just, able to, they're very quickly not becoming the majority anymore. There are so many other races in this country, and there's so much mixing of race that they're kind of getting washed out. That's always been their biggest fear. That's why they fear us all, whatever shade we are besides white. They fear us all because they are the ones getting washed out. You know how easy it is? You can pour any color of the spectrum in white paint and it will change colors. But you can't necessarily pour white paint into any other color of the spectrum. It just becomes a lighter shade of that color. Did you hear what I said? Soak that in. I'm going to let it soak. Let me sit back for a minute. Yeah, I said what I said. Now, in this situation, this thing with the Hollywood Foreign Associated Press, you cannot sit by rightfully as white people and tell us what we like and who's the best at this and that when you don't even know what you're talking about, because you probably don't even know any black people. And if you do know them, they probably work for you. Like, I want to move on from that because I spent enough time on that because I have something much more important I want to talk about. And that is the fact that Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves are trying to kill all of y'all. And all of y'all, half of us, because we're all down here in the South. Texas is the second most populated state in the country. Mississippi is the poorest state in the country. These two have gotten together and they are now going to open businesses to 100% and lift mask mandates so that people can just go out there and just get coronavirus and just die at random. Now, people that have not, one thing I learned very quickly about this virus is that people that have not been affected by it firsthand, they're very callous. A lot of them are very callous, and a lot of them are not taking it seriously. What are you supposed to do when your own governor is telling you to go out there, but then they turn right around and they're saying stuff like, oh, now, us lifting these mandates does not take away personal responsibility. We just want to get these businesses open. This is all about the economy. And be clear that your governor does always not have your best interest in heart, even if he is the same skin tone as you. That man, Greg Abbott from Texas, is in a wheelchair. He can't even walk. They have said time and time again and made it very clear that people that already suffer from neurological or spinal issues and stuff, COVID affects you a wholly different way. And that you are more susceptible because you have a pre-existing condition, and it can literally ruin your whole life. If you're paralyzed from the waist down and you get COVID, it could paralyze you all the way up and make you paralyzed from the neck down. I bet you won't see him outside nowhere without a mask. This is the same man, his whole state damn near froze to death. So now all of a sudden we need to open back up. And now we know that Mississippi is the least educated, the poorest. I could run down a gamut, a list of things that Mississippi is at the bottom. Regardless how many states there were, there could be 103 states. Mississippi would be number 103. They're at the bottom of every list. This man just jumped on the bandwagon. This other man just because he was like, oh, that sounds good, so I'm going to do that too. Yeah, I'm going to improve my economy. I'm going to lift the ban. Don't go outside without a mask. Go outside how you want to. I'm going to open all these businesses up 100%. Please be clear. New York City with 18 million people in one city who had a horrible, terrible COVID outbreak. They just reopened restaurants a few weeks ago. I think it might have been 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 at this point, but because I'm not exactly sure because things are running together. But regardless, they just reopened their restaurants, but they only opened to 30% capacity. That means if you have a tiny restaurant that only seats 30 people, you can't let about, count the math, do the math. You don't let about 3, 4, 5 people in there at a time. Regardless, they are still taking precautions. But in the South, oh, we're immune. Be clear, I live in Atlanta. Oh, we've been wide open since the whole thing started. There are mask mandates, and you are required to wear masks in a lot of places. Oh, but they've been busting it wide open. They've been at the club. They've been at the bar. They've been having parties. Everybody's coming from everywhere else, coming down here to give us their version of COVID. So when California COVID is over, it's going to be great because we're going to still have Georgia, Cali, Mississippi, Virginia, New York, Chicago COVID. We're going to have all the COVIDs mixed and blended together because they're down here just doing whatever. But at least they still have mask mandates. It's one thing for you to reopen business. And then one thing too, we're not open 100%. You cannot in any restaurant in this place, even though we are the ones that's wide open, you can't go there and be 100%. And anybody that's dumb enough to go sit there next to the 100%, what kind of crazy are you? You a new kind of crazy. You can't sit by and just be there like pretending like this doesn't exist. There have been too many people that have died. Do you know how devastating it is for somebody that is in perfectly good health, for you to watch them catch COVID and just die from it? And not even because they've been sick or anything like that. That is a devastating thing. But when it doesn't happen to you, it does not matter. That's what I'm to understand? Very good. Very good. So anyway, Texas and Mississippi, they all about to be dead over there in some months. We'll wait and watch the news and follow this, because if it's working and the numbers are down, the way to keep the numbers down is not to just go back to normal like nothing ever happened. COVID did not disappear. And be clear that the wheelchair man in Texas, he said that. He got on the news and said that. COVID is not gone away. This does not take away personal responsibility. But I'm going to allow you to go outside and not wear masks and be 100% sitting in the restaurant right there with somebody else if you want to. AKA, he basically told you to go out there and kill yourself if you want to. It's no love lost to him. Let's move on to the next story because I'm about to talk about T.I. and Tiny. I talked about T.I. and Tiny with Dr. Vicky T a few weeks ago. And all the things they've been going through, well, it's still going on. But it's gotten at least narrowed and slimmed down because there are 11 women that are claiming they actually have legitimate, I guess, I don't want to say cases, because they may not be legitimate to the case. They have legitimate grievance with T.I. and Tiny. Because these 11 women, they are saying that women don't know each other. They're saying the 11 women stories corroborate Either way, from 2005 to 2018, 11 women went in there. They took drugs. They did sex. They didn't want to do it. Now they don't want to do it. Whatever people's reasons are for not coming forward at the beginning, they literally came out and said that they were afraid, that they got threatened, all this other stuff. You know, it gets rough when you talk about things like this, because the simple fact that you want to believe that T.I. and Tiny wouldn't do this, but then you also don't want to not believe these women. You don't want to think that they're just making this up, regardless of the fact that T.I. and Tiny, they say no. They're saying no. This is not something that we did. These allegations are false, and if they do not cease and desist, we will take legal action. There is a one lady who was actually, she said Tiny befriended her, and she got drugged and she had sex. And look, at this point, nobody knows what to believe. All I'm going to say is what I said when I talked about this story for the first time. If T.I. and Tiny did this, put them next in between Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. Surely the four of them can figure something out. They can do something in there real good, real sexy, and set up some stuff. They can drug each other and do whatever to each other, and it'll be great and wonderful for them, you know, even though they're in jail. Do something, you know, because I just don't understand why all these people keep coming forward and make up all these stories. Now, people are very, very shifty and crafty, and right now people need money. So it is very, very possible that this stuff is made up. It is also very, very possible that it could be true, due to the fact that we do not know this to be a certainty. I'm not going to speak on that. I'm just going to stick to my guns. Somebody needs to be punished. If T.I. and Tiny did it, punish them. If these women are lying, punish them. Don't punish me by not watching my show, because I'm going to wrap this up this week. Thank you so much for watching this week's edition of Grover Takeover. I will be returning right to you next week. Be clear that if you are waiting for me, I am waiting for you. I want you to make sure that you have a good day, a good night, and a good life. And I hope that you came away from this with exactly what you came here for, because you know I'm going to give it to you. Why wouldn't I? Wearing my Scar t-shirt this week. Hey, somebody asked me why I was representing Scar. Because he's my favorite character from Lion King. Why wouldn't he be?